26 of Junior Blankenship. He is jumping in this car after losing an engine during practice earlier tonight, so he is going to be handling a backup car that he's not used to. We'll have to keep an eye on.
We'll throw it to you right after we get finished with the starting lineup.
The number 34, Carl Wheeler.
All right, just point to me. I'm trying to be watching for you.
The number 83 of
Okay, just give us some comments.
Richard Hampton, a gentleman who has enjoyed some ARCA short track racing careers in his history. Back on row 11, it's the number 2 of Alan Webb. Next to Alan, it'll be the number 99 of Larry Cryer. And then Frank, the last 2 rows, it's the number 6 and 68 there. The number 6 machine being manned by John Garrett, while on the outside of him, it'll be the number 68 of Steve Brown. Then on row 13, the number 72 of Chad Paxton racing there, bringing up the tail of this event.
Well,
300 laps in all.
Covering pit road for us, Scott Douglas. And Scott, it looks like a lot of crews are set to go 300 laps here tonight.
Well, you're right. There's a lot of tension down here, Frank, on pit road as we get ready to go. But certainly, these race teams know that a big part of this race will be in the pits. Now, last year, we had to cover a lot of tire stops. That was the big story. That's not the story this year. A different set of tires. The guys expect to go all 300. But there is a mandatory pit stop. They must take on 5 gallons of fuel. And, of course, they need it anyway. Stop so they can make it the whole distance. And it could be the difference in the race. It has been 2 of the 3 times that this race has been won. Who got out of the pits first? And a key pit stop won it. We'll cover it down here for you, Frank.
Thank you very much. That's our own Scott Douglas down on pit road covering the pit stories as they develop. He'll have a chance to talk with several of the crew chiefs on the developments of the cars. The cars are now double filed out of turn number 4 and down the front straightaway. We'd like to welcome Morris Metcalf and the entire staff from the Winston Cup Series. They've flown into Louisville, Kentucky from Detroit, Michigan. Well, they'll be scoring the Winston Cup event tomorrow afternoon. They'll be flying back to Michigan following this event, but the entire Winston Cup Series officials are here to score the event here this evening. As the field rolls down the front straightaway, Dean Taylor, we're less than a lap away from the start of the most important race of the year, the Metal Center Bluegrass 300.
Undoubtedly the most important, not to mention the richest and most prestigious for our Winston Bush late model cars. Once again, it's Steve Webb and Keith Gardner there on the front row as they take it into turns 3 and 4. They're going to wind it up just a little bit as Chris Fisher, your flagman, looks them over and gives them the green to get underway.
The Metal Center Bluegrass 300 is underway, and the field roars off into turns 1 and 2. They're still pretty much double stacked throughout the entire field as they work halfway down the back straightaway and down into turns 3 and 4. Jeffersonville, Indiana, Steve Webb will take the early race advantage with the battle at second side by side between Keith Gardner and Larry Metters. Chuck Winters goes 4th, followed by Charlie Glotzback at 5th, going 6th, Ron Phillips. 7th now to Scott Walters, 8th to Todd Robinson, 9th to Buddy Fannin, and Hank Hartley rounds out the top 10.
Needless to say, this is not a 300-lap sprint event. Play its part. Right now, though, the number 1 of Steve Webb is taking a great advantage of that front row starting position as he is going across the lead as lap number 3 in this 300 lap event for our Winston Bush late model. It's the number 1 of Steve Webb still out in front, back about 5 car lengths now. We find the number 05 of Larry Metters, while just behind him is the number 8 of Johnny
I tell you what, Dean, they know this is a long race, 300 laps, and nobody wants to make any sudden moves this early in the event. We have some great side-by-side racing back just outside the top 10 as Buddy Fannin and Joe Williamson are running side-by-side. Then Rick Irwin along with Preston Ford get double-stacked along with Keith Storms and Brian Baum as they move down the front straightaway. But it's single file for the most part throughout the top 10 as they move down into turns 3 and 4. Now the battle at 4th place, Dean Taylor, down the front straightaway.
It's a battle between Charlie Glotzback and Keith Gardner. Gardner's got the inside ring. Glotzback on the outside as they head off to turns 1 and 2. And side by side, down the back straightaway. Glotzback looking strong on the straightaways. Gardner better in the corners. We'll have to see as they come out of turn 4 down the start finish line. Give it to Gardner. He'll be credited for 4th place position.
Okay, and Glotzback's tucked high on the outside. He quickly shuffles that Chevrolet down low in front of Ron Phillips to guard up on that number 5 position. Phillips goes 6th, 7th to Scott Walters, 8th to Todd Robinson, and now 9th to the number 29 of Hank Hartley. Rounding out the top 10, it's Joe Williamson Sr. as they move past our Winston VIP suite into turns 1 and 2. Your race leaders move out of turn number 4 and collect lap number 9. It's Steve Webb of Jeffersonville, Indiana, but Larry Metters continues to put the pressure on.
Larry has definitely closed that gap from the earlier laps a few moments ago. He's now right on the back bumper of the budget racing machine, the number 1 of Steve Webb.
Metters about 4 car lengths behind at third place. 4 car lengths behind Larry Metters as they click off lap number 11 this time around. Then we have down the front straightaway comes Keith Gardner at 4th place. He is about 10 car lengths behind or more from Chuck Winders. Then it's Charging Charlie Glotzback going 5th. But for the moment, the top 3 cars move pretty much bumper to bumper down and across the start-finish line and into turns 1 and 2. And already, Dean Taylor, it looks like Larry Metters is going to go for the lead as he looks to the outside of Steve Webb. But then there's trouble. It's the other Webb brother, the number 2 of Allen, down in turn number 4. And it brings out the caution flag at lap number 13.
So the caution flag coming out, but Metters will be credited with the lead as he got across the line first with 13 laps down now for our race fans at home. We'll remind you that yellow flag laps do count.
I'm going to throw it to you when they slow the cars down.
The last 5 laps of the race have to be completed under green flag conditions, so they'll continue to click off the laps, but right now it's the number 05 of Larry Metters with the lead. We'll be back with more live continuous coverage of the Bluegrass Metal Center 300 after this radio timeout.
Laps now completed. After 14 laps of competition, Larry Metters becomes our second leader of the event, getting around Steve Webb down in the 4th turn area as the field was racing back to the caution. Our first caution flag period caused by the number 2 of Alan Webb down in turn number 4, the team car to that of Steve Webb's machine down in the 4th turn area of the Speedway. Right now, 14 laps completed as the Bob Hook safety car picks up our race leaders, and lap number 15 is scored. So all the laps under caution except for the final 5 will be scored as our Bob Hook safety car moves down into turns 1 and 2.
Did anybody try to push it down there? See if it worked.
Scott's worked with it all afternoon.
You guys coming to me?
Oh, we're on commercial break right now.
2 laps, Robert. 2 laps. Get it back before it goes green. I'll say jump in with Bill real quick.
Okay.
They got 1 to the green.
Scott, talk to this one right now.
You can still point in. You can send it down here if it's green. So they'll hear on radio in the
Scott
suite.
talks so the mic will go out.
If I turn it up, yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Back here with you now with more live continuous coverage of the Bluegrass Metal Center 300 being brought to you by Collins Chevy Geo and Stooges Nightclub. I believe Scott Douglas, we thought he was standing by with the report, but we'll find out here very shortly. We're still under caution.
I'm just going to continue. I'm ready.
Larry Metters continues to lead the race as green flag is now back out once again, Frank Scott.
Well, Larry Metters got an excellent jump on the rest of the field after getting around Jeff Johnson 1 lap down. Steve Webb runs at 2nd on the field, followed by Charging Chuck Winders. Keith Gardner goes 4th, and Charlie Glotzback rounds out that top 5 as they continue to blast around this Louisville Motor Speedway. 18 laps are now completed in this Metal Center Bluegrass 300. And I tell you, it was no big surprise to see Larry Metters jump out into the lead early in the event. The big question right now, Dean Taylor, is how long can he hold it? Last year, he made it well over 200 laps before mechanical failures sidelined his machine, but that was 1 year ago. Seems as like his luck has turned around for 1992.
That has, but nonetheless, the more extended events, the old buggy mechanical problems has now taken a monkey on his back. And we'll have to see if that's going to show us up tonight or he'll walk away with his tech feature for the season. Right now, he's looking good as he's opened up about a quarter of a track lead over the number 1 of Steve Webb. Back in 3rd place right now, Chuck Webb. Right on his rear front, but they can go back about 5 lengths before you find the 4th place running number 98, Keith Gardner, and rounding out the top 5, it's still the number 20 of Charging Charlie Glotzback.
They continue to circle this Louisville Motor Speedway. 22 laps now completed. Your race leader, Larry Metters, in car number 05 as they move down the back straightaway and into turns 3 and 4. It's still the number 1 of Steve Webb running at 2nd, but Chuck Winders is really battling him as they come down the front straightaway.
All right, 23 laps now down.
I'm going to throw it to you. Just give me some comments. Second place running number 1 is Steve Webb. And he is a continuous dominating event as he moves up that lead. I tell you what. what, Scott Douglas was standing by with, I believe, the Metters crew during that first pit stop. And Scott Douglas, let's have some comments.
It was a green flag maneuver, and Larry Metters grabbed the lead from Steve Webb. I talked to both pits, they were had the clock on Metters, and Larry actually was consistent and was gradually slowing down. I talked to the folks in the Webb pits, and they said basically they think Steve's just pacing himself, and that he's going to wait and see how things go. He wasn't going to fight Metters. He's back up the Metters, and Larry has the lead. He wants to be there on that number 3.
Okay, some comments then from the Webb Motorsports team and the Malcolm Brothers team. Right behind Larry Metters in the number 05, the Metal Center Ohio Valley Tire Company and Outer Limits Racing Chevrolet. Right now, though, Metters has met up with some lap traffic in the form of Chavley, Kentucky's Larry Clyer as they race into turns 1 and 2. And as they work down the back straightaway, this lap traffic has slowed Metters' momentum down some and has actually allowed Steve Webb to close into about 8 car lengths, Dean.
That margin has definitely subsided a little bit since slower lap traffic is still playing a key role here as Larry moves to the inside of number 41, Richard Hampton, trying to continue to work his way through it, but it looks like it's going to be a while before it sees some open, clear racing.
An incredible field of automobiles. 26 cars took the green flag, and that makes for a lot of racing traffic out there in the early portions of the event. We are sure attrition rate may take care of some of the cars, but right now it's heavy traffic. After 30 laps of competition, we'll make that 31 as Larry Metters takes that Metal Center Racing IROC and down the back straightaway. He's gotten around Seymour, Indiana's Richard Hampton, as well as Chavley, Kentucky's Larry Clyer. He continues to work the outside of Steve Brown and then moves in on 5th place finisher from 1 year ago, Chad Paxton, as well as the number 2 of Alan Webb as they move down the back straightaway. But those cars are no longer on the lead lap as it looks as though the cream is rising to the top here in the early going.
All right, Larry Metters continuing to lead the event. Steve Webb is in 2nd. Chuck Winters holding down 3rd now. Back into 4th place. Number 98, Gardner. Still in his 5th. They started to Charlie Glotzback, while Ron Phillips holds down 6th place position. 7th currently held by the number 5 there of Scott Walters. Right behind him we find Todd Robinson in the number 8th position with Rick Irwin in at 9th. And I do believe Nick Irwin's running in the number 10th position. 34 laps away at this event, the Bluegrass Metal Center right on WPLD Louisville by Colin Chickatino at 7th and Broadway in downtown Louisville, as well as Stooges, home of the great Stoogesburger at 7132 for 8th lane.
Okay, Charlie Glotzback in car number 20 now making his way past Chad Paxton to put them a lap down to our top 5 cars as he chases down Keith Gardner moving into turns 1 and 2. Let's set the field for you now as we come up very close to the 40 lap mark. And it's the number 05 at 37 laps, your race leader, Larry Metters. Running at 2nd, it's still Steve Webb, the pole position winner, turning in the fastest time here this evening. Currently at 2nd place, Chuck Winters right on his back bumper at 3rd place. And then going forward, it's the number 98 of Keith Gardner. Then Charlie Glotzback runs 5th. At 6th, it's Ron Phillips, followed by 7th place running Scott Walters. 8th to Todd Robinson. Rick Irwin will go 9th on the field. And then rounding out the top 10, I believe we could say possibly Joe Williamson Sr. in car number 11. So that's the way they look now, coming up on the 40 lap mark here at Louisville Motor Speedway during the running of the Metal Center Bluegrass 300.
All right, it looks like the number 12 from Preston Ford. He slowed his car momentarily there on the front straightaway. Not sure if he's having some problems or not. He is headed for pit road, though, our first part of pit this evening, as he leads his way through the barriers.
And maybe our own Scott Douglas can perhaps call the stop on car number 12, Preston Ford, as he comes into the pit area. Scott, pick up the stop.
They've taken the hood off of Preston Ford's number 12. Rising out of the car right now. It appears to be some type of overheating problem. They're busy working on it right now. We'll get a better word in a minute. But Preston Ford, a major factor in previous 300s, will not be one today.
Sorry to hear that. In the Kentuckiana Service Center Racing Chevrolet with the hood up, the Pennzoil car bright. The machine there stopped on pit road. The St. Matthews Import Body Shop, Carnival Shoes and Fashions machine having problems early in this event. But as Scott's so well documented, Preston Ford has been a factor in the past events here in this Bluegrass 300. But tonight doesn't look like appears to be his night. Right now, so far, it appears to be Larry Metter's kind of night, as he races down the front straightaway, collects lap number 45, and right now owns almost a full straightaway advantage over that race at second. And Dean Taylor, they're side by side out of turn 2.
Sure enough, and Chuck Lucas takes the advantage down the back straightaway, going around the number 1 of Steve Webb, now to take over sole possession of second place as lap number 46 clicks off on the board here in tonight's Bluegrass Middle Center 300. We'll be back with more live continuous coverage in just a moment on WPMT.
A great battle back at 4th and 5th place as Keith Gardner in car number 98 and Sergeant Charlie Glotzbach run bumper to bumper down the front straightaway as they collect lap number 47. And again, it looks as though these cars are pretty much settled in line, and they're going to ride for a few laps here as, again, we expect them to get a little more aggressive towards the mid part of the event because of that right-way grinding saw and tool halfway challenge bonus money at lap number 150. Also, the Metal Center Recycling Center posting a bonus at lap number 100 as well, but we're some 51 laps away from that first bonus. Larry Metters of Louisville, Kentucky continues to lead this event, driving the Metal Center Ohio Valley Tire Company and Outer Limits Racing Chevrolet. Moving in behind Bill Kimmel Jr. in car number 69. And it looks as though Kimmel may go a lap down. Metters right there on his back bumper as they move down the back straightaway. Down into turns 3 and 4. Joe Williamson Sr. is at 10th place on the field by my reckoning, and he is also within striking distance of going a lap down to our race leaders. All due respect to Chuck Winders, he has gotten around Steve Webb to run at second and has stretched that margin out over third place running Steve Webb to be just about 3/4 of a straightaway. So the distance between first and second place is a little closer now than second and third place after 52 laps of racing.
Back to more live continuous coverage from the Louisville Motor Speedway as we present to you tonight's running on the Bluegrass Middle Center 300 brought to you by College Chevrolet. As the 05 from Larry Metters.
What?
Running second. Steve Webb back in third with Keith Gardner rounding out fourth and Charlie Glotzbach still holding over that number 5 position.
Well, Dean Taylor, I wouldn't have believed it, but Bill Kimmel Jr. is one lap down to the field. He was one of the strongest cars at the beginning of the season, but it doesn't look like it's in the cards for him tonight. He's only one lap down. It's a long race. He can still make it back up. Let's go to Scott Douglas for some comments.
Right now is to get Preston back in the race. They put the hood down. They had to change something around him and a hose, something with the cooling system. They had to have it, but they the back.
It's Todd Robinson of New Albany, Indiana. Something had gone amiss with the car here on the front straightaway. After 57 laps, his car struck the outside retaining wall going into turns 1 and 2. Todd Robinson climbs out of the car, and it looks like he is came over to have a word with Richard Hampton, but the number 15 of Robinson's machine hit the outside retaining wall going into turns 1 and 2, and it looks like he is not too happy about it, and he has walked over to have a word with Richard Hampton in the number 41, Dean Taylor.
All right, so while the activities are going on the track, the conversation's still continuing. We've got another break in action here. There were 58 laps down in this race. The red flag has come out on the action at the moment, and with 58 laps away, we still find in the lead the number 05 of Larry Metters. And if Larry can continue to lead at the halfway point, lap number 150, that's when he's got a little bonus money coming his way, Frank.
Well, there's a lot of bonuses headed this way here this evening. After 100, at the 100 lap mark, there is a bonus paid by the Metal Center Recycling Center at lap number 100, and then Right Way Grinding Saw and Tool Company will post a bonus at the halfway mark, the 150 lap mark. But it looks like right now 58 laps are in the book as the red flag came out after Todd Robinson's car hit the outside retaining wall going into turns 1 and 2. Todd stepped from his automobile, and that immediately brought out the red flag. We Can't speculate or give any more details further than that. But 58 laps are now completed. We are red flagged by a car into the wall in the first turn area. Let's go to Scott Douglas.
All right, as you're trying to keep everybody up to date on what's going on with the altercation and things, Foley is saying, hey, listen, if there's only 2-3 cars in the lead lap and we can keep an eye on it, we may change our whole strategy around with 50, 75 laps to go, depending on who's on the lead lap and who's down the lap.
Okay, Scott Douglas. So again, some thoughts and comments from Royce Foley, the crew chief on Chuck Winder's machine, who sits in the number 2 spot. Right now, Winders closes in behind Larry Metters, our race leader, as they roar out of turn number 4. The green flag is back out on this Metal Center Bluegrass 300.
I mentioned the number 83 of David Gordon 10 has been in the pits for the past couple of laps. He came out but went back in. All right, green flag racing out once more with Larry Metters jumping back out to the lead. Chuck Winders staying though right behind him there on that outside through measure. Her brother cars do stay on the outside as they come across the lap number 59. It's Metters, Winders, Webb, and Gardner, as well as Prospect, rounding out your top 5.
Ron Phillips will go 6th on the field, as again the number 5 of Scott Walters there at 7th, 8th now to Rick Irwin, 9th to the number 74 of Brian Baum, and rounding out that top 10, car number 11, Joe Williamson, as they again move down into turns 3 and 4. And right now, Chuck Winders has a lapped car between himself and Larry Metters. It's Bill Kimmel Jr., who's trying to make up some ground and catch back up to Metters to put himself back on the lead lap. But right now, he's just an obstacle for Chuck Winders to try to get around.
While we've seen it on some of the bigger tracks, it is possible to come from a lap down the track. But I'm quite sure that we've really seen it happen in an event such as this caliber, as is the Bluegrass 300. We're 62 laps down. That first bonus coming up lap number 100. The Metal Center will be presenting a check for the leader of that lap. And then, of course, on that number 150, it's the right lane Saw and Jewel bonus. All coming up in the course of this event, Frank.
I tell you, last year, Dean, as you may well remember, Larry Metters was the fellow that took nearly all the bonuses, but then mechanical problems for the car late in the race kept him from getting that big bonus. And of course, that's that $3,000 going out to the Metal Center Bluegrass 300 winner. It was Bill Webb of Jeffersonville, Indiana, who came away with the victory last year, only after Metters' car was sidelined late in the race. But so far for 1992, Larry Metters has had all the best of luck, and of course a well-prepared race car, and the number 05 has looked fine all year long, collecting 9 feature event victories. He looks super strong after 66 laps here tonight. Chuck Winders is closing in, though, and we may have a 2-car race for the lead here very shortly as they move down into turns 3 and 4. And again, it looks like Preston Ford is down on pit road.
Yeah, trouble again with the Preston Ford cars. For those of you who have never seen this Metal Center 300, we close off the big red concourse and set it up as a pit area. That's where the cars have to come in and take at least one mandatory pit stop before the end of the race.
I'll throw it back to you. I'll throw it to you in just a moment.
Make that 68 down the road as Larry Metters continues to walk away, but Chuck Winders not going to get very far that way, though, as they've got about a 2-lane car separation between the two as they head off to turns 3 and 4.
Let's hear from Scott Douglas. He's standing by with the Preston Ford crew.
Ain't no one yet from the Preston Ford pit. All I can tell you is as soon as he rolled down into his pit stop, he pulled the counter key out, took the steering wheel off, and just got the foot on the dash. It looks like Preston Ford touched the day. We'll try and get started and find out what's going on here in just a moment.
Okay, Dean Taylor, 70 laps into this event as, again, Larry Metters and Chuck Winders make it a 2-car race for the lead.
That they are indeed.
Scotty,
Junior Blankenship is
go down and get the other 2 cars on pit road. It looks like Cornetti's having a problem as well as Junior Blankenship.
Marching just a little bit as they head off down the back straightaway. It's now only about a car length separation between the two. Then you have to go back about a quarter of the track and then find the third place running number 1 of Steve Webb there holding down that position. Then on back to Charlie Prospect, who's now moved up to the 4th. The Riley Ford Gold Eagles Chicken, number 98 of Keith Gardner is in 5th place.
Scotty, I'm going to be throwing it back to you.
Yeah.
They continue to circle this Louisville Motor Speedway now. 73 laps completed and a good race for the lead right now as Larry Metters and Chuck Winders run about a half a car length separating them. And then it's a full curve back to the number 1 of Steve Webb of Jeffersonville, Indiana. Charging Charlie Glotzback at 4th place. Rounding out the top 5, it's Keith Gardner. Let's go back to Scott Douglas as 2 more casualties are on pit road. Thank you very much, Scott Douglas. That report coming at the first 2 positions there on pit road. The first pit stalls of Junior Blankenship and, of course, David Cornett. Both one having an overheating problem, the other with a transmission problem. 77 laps in the books, and I tell you what, Dean Taylor, Larry Metters is feeling the pressure because Chuck Winders is just right there on his back bumper as they come out of turn number 4.
That's right, they're making their way through some more slower traffic, but not hindering Larry this time around. Although he's got about 3 cars in front of him that just might. We'll have to see how Chuck Winders plays cat and mouse as they go through turns 3 and 4. Slower cars are slowing down Winders' pace just a little bit. Winders
coming back at you here in a minute.
Larry finds the open inside group and continues to lead this event with 79 laps down now in this big Bluegrass Metal Center 300.
20 laps away from the 100 lap mark. Let's go to Scott Douglas. He's standing by with Preston Ford. Okay, so there you have it. Preston Ford out of it in the Carnival Shoes and Fashions Racing Chevy Lumina. Larry Metters leads lap number 83. And you know, Dean Taylor, you got to be thinking, if you're Chuck Winders, about that bonus paid at lap number 100. And perhaps that is why he is putting the pressure on Metters, because of that significant bonus put up by the Metal Center Recycling Center to the leader at lap number 100.
And Chuck Winders, now he's looking to the inside of Metters. He might have a chance as they come across for lap number 85. It looked like he's got the open inside groove again. He's pulled up alongside Metters. It's door handle to door handle coming out of the turn, but Winders gets a little bit loose and swirling down the back straightaway. That drops him off the momentum. And right now, the lead is still safe with number 5 with Larry Metters.
You know, Dean Taylor, I've hardly seen it at all during the 1992 racing season. A driver being able to pass Larry Metters. There's trouble in turn number 1. Charlie Glotzback and Bill Kimmel Jr. tangled. Kimmel was not on the lead lap. He hit the outside retaining wall down in the first turn area of the Speedway. We remain green flag racing for the moment. Chris Fisher awaiting word from NASCAR as to whether to put the yellow flag out. And it doesn't look like Kimmel can get back across the racetrack. We're under caution at lap number 87.
So the yellow flag is coming out on your leader. As Glotzback was racing for position, he was trying to make a move on the number 1.
Coming to you,
Glotzback is now in the pits. We see he is making his pit stop as he's got the choice of position. Let's go to Scott Douglas for this report.
Scott Douglas, pick him up on pit road. Charging Charlie's in the pits.
Across from pit road, obviously the Charlie Glotzback car has entered the pits. And with the yellow coming out, this is going to cost him right here. They've got him held up in the pits indeed. So Charlie right now, being held on the pit board, he has just come in and not taking on any fuel. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen him touch the car. They're prepared to change the right front tire, but Charlie Glotzback losing laps under the caution. They're going underneath the car right now. They're going to jack it up, and they'll go to the right front side. New wheel being brought over to the Charlie Glotzback machine, and Charlie simply sitting in the car, shaking his head back and forth right now. And they're going to go ahead and dump 5 gallons or 6 gallons of fuel in there. That'll be what they need to go the distance. But certainly this is costing Winston Cup star Charlie Glotzback a chance to win the biggest local late model race of the year here at the So the fuel going in, they continue, he's still up on the jack, right front tire where the change is being the stop for Charlie Gleisbach.
Take it, Dean.
All right, so thank you for that report, Scott. Yes, indeed.
Was that a penalty?
Charlie was getting ready to make a very big move there for the position, and apparently in the fracas with the number 69 machine of Bill Kimmel Jr., he cut down that right front tire, so he went into the pits. But, of course, pit road became closed when the yellow came out. So, again, that cost Charlie Gleisbach quite a bit and puts him a lap or two down on our field.
The safety crews continue to work with the number 69 of Bill Kimmel Jr. It didn't look like the car made real significant contact with the outside retaining wall. More on the Gleisbach story, and for that, let's go to Scott Douglas.
Frank, I just went over and talked to competition director Robert Watkins down there at the end of the track. The rule there was that with the yellow flag coming out, Gleisbach came into the pit. On those bonus checks, we'll go to Larry Metters, and he's going to pick up a $250 bonus right there for leading lap number 100. Now the next bonus is the right way grinding saw and tool halfway challenge at lap number 150. That'll pay $300. So that's the next bonus they'll be going for. Also got over there and talked to Alan Webb about the 2-car coming out. Basically, its oil seal started dumping oil on the back brake. He said it made it a little scary out there. Couldn't keep her straight. He decided to park it. So now we've got an awful lot of experienced drivers down here in the Steve Webb crew with Alan and Bill trying to help brother Steve out.
Okay, and the field gets ready to go back green flag racing. And with Larry Metters on the outside, Joe Williamson Sr. a lap down, and as well as Keith Storms, Buddy Fannin, and Chad Paxton on those inside rows. The green flag is back out at lap number 101. It's Larry Metters in the Metal Center Recycling, Ohio Valley Tire Company, and Outer Limits Racing Chevrolet, your race leader. The car number 8, Chuck Winders, and the Gregg and Landreth Cars, Foley Automotive and A1 Engineering Buick runs at second. Going third, it's the Budget Rent-A-Car and Truck Rocky Sub Pub Racing Lumina of Steve Webb. And then going fourth, it's car number 98, the Barley Ford Thunderbird, Bojangles and KC Food Mart's Ford Thunderbird of Keith Gardner. Rounding out the top 5, it's the Portland Recycling Racing Lumina of Ron Phillips. Dean?
So there's your top 5 pointers. Lap number 103 clicks off onto the board. 100 laps away in this event. 1/3 of the way home for our drivers. Right now, Larry Metters trying to hold on to that lead as Chuck Winters going to work on it once again. They got off of the turns 1 and 2. Metters seems to be very comfortable on that outside racing group, and that leaves the inside wide open, and Winters has been looking at that all evening, but so far has not been able to take advantage of it.
Scott Walters in car number 5 got really wide that time down in turns 3 and 4 and went way up in the marbles. He regained control of the car and now has picked up the pace some. Dean, we've got a battle for the lead now out of turn number 4 as the fans come to their feet, and Chuck Winders clearly leads lap number 106 going into turns 1 and 2.
So now you've got a new leader for the 3rd time in this event. It's the number 8 of Chuck Winters as he moves out in front now in that pink and white car. The number 8 machine out in front of Winters coming back in second. Steve Webb's still standing back there in 3rd place, not letting those front runners get too far away.
Moving down the back straightaway and into turns 3 and 4 now, it's Chuck Winders who shows the way in this Metal Center Bluegrass 300. Larry Metters about a car length behind after that bonus at lap number 100. And I kind of expected Larry Metters to kind of cool it for a few laps, kind of ride in the wake set by the number 8 of Chuck Winders. So Larry Metters, the leader, has become Larry Metters, the follower at this point in the race. There's another big bonus put up our right way grinding saw and tool at lap number 150, and it'll be interesting when we get to that mark some 41 laps from now if Metters begins putting the pressure back on Winders. Again, Steve Webb is riding right along, just about a dozen car lengths behind at 3rd place. Keith Gardner and Ron Phillips there at 4th and 5th. Scott Walters goes 6th and Rick Irwin at 7th. 8th to the number 11 of Joe Williamson or the number 20 of Charlie Gleisbach, although they aren't on the lead lap. I believe Brian Baum is, so 74 Brian Baum could be in the number 8 position by our reckoning. Trouble down in turns 3 and 4, and it was our 2 leaders, Dean. You saw some of that.
That's right. It was Chuck Winters going hard into the corner there, and he just kind of lost the handle and kind of took Larry Metters off with him as they were going for it. Right now, it's the number 05 of Larry Metters back out in front as Winters got his car back underway. He did a little sheet metal damage to the right rear quarter of the car. He is finds himself now back running in about 5th place position. We'll have to check the scoring and timing to see if that's official. But lap number 113, the lead goes back to the 05 of Larry Metters.
And Larry Metters has some significant, well, not real significant, but some minor damage to the right rear quarter panel of that machine. It looks like a piece of band iron holding on the bottom lower rear quarter panel on that machine, so some very minor damage there. Now Chuck Winters has sustained some damage to the left front of his automobile, and as he has fallen back to the number 6 position, he has some damage to the front of his machine.
So let's reset the top 5 for you. Larry Metters is back out in front as your leader. Steve Webb now finds himself in the number 2 position, while Keith Gardner advances up to 3rd, Ron Phillips up to 4th, and then there's Scott Walters holding down 5th place position. But right now he's got a rearview mirror full of Chuck Winters as they head on down the back straightaway.
You know, and it's a big question if Winters' machine is as strong as it was earlier. You know, Dean, it didn't look like he was handling that well that time down in turns 3 and 4 as the car wants to go wide. Now he tucks to the inside of Scott Walters to battle for 5th place as they race down into turns 3 and 4, and actually it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th all bumper to bumper down the front straightaway after 118 laps.
118 laps away in this event, so let's go ahead and take this radio timeout on our College Chevy Geo Stooges radio feature racing evening.
Battle for 2nd place beginning to heat up now here on the front straightaway as Keith Gardner in car number 98 glides up around the outside of Steve Webb, and it's the Barley Ford Bojangles Ford Thunderbird taking over 2nd as they move down into turns 3 and 4. Ron Phillips looks super strong here on the front straightaway. He and Scott Walters race side by side into turns 1 and 2. So again, some heavy traffic among the top 5 as they race down the backstretch.
I'm sorry, I stepped on it.
It's car number 05, Larry Metters now by a full straightaway over the rest of the field. Keith Gardner in car number 98 still at 2nd. Steve Webb goes 3rd. Scott Walters up to 4th. At 5th, for the most part, it's a side-by-side battle between Chuck Winters and Ron Phillips as Winters takes away that spot now here on the front straightaway. Winters has substantial sheet metal damage done to his machine, but it looks like he has gotten the speed of that car back up again.
Thanks, Eric.
123 laps now completed, and it's Larry Metters by a huge margin. That of almost over a full straightaway as our race leader Larry Metters comes up along the outside of the number 88 of Jeff Johnson here on the front straightaway as they move back into turns 1 and 2. Scotty, I'll throw it back to you when we come out of this commercial. I didn't hear you. We're on a commercial right now. I'll throw it to you when we get back out of the commercial.
Back with you once again here at the Louisville Motor Speedway, where we are now on lap number 125 of our Bluegrass Metal Center 300. And we've got Scott Douglas standing by with the board on pit road.
That's Larry Metters has got things all himself right now. Still though, we're not to the halfway mark, Frank Scott and Dean Taylor. Several things of note. When Chuck Winters grabbed the lead right after we resumed green flag racing, Winters had actually taken the stakes up a little bit. You know, a distance running in a long race will try to pace himself, wanting to go every mile in a certain amount of time. Well, the Larry Metters crew wanted to go 15 seconds flat on every lap. They got in the lead. Then Chuck Winters started turning laps at 1490, and it was on a lap at 1490 that Winters grabbed the lead. But apparently that was a little too quick because Winters got the problem. They think he might have gotten in some water. The 80 was losing some water, and they think that might have crossed Chuck. He got loose, dropped off the pace. Now, once again, Winters isn't as quick as anybody on the track, but Metters has opened up a huge lead.
Well, I tell you what, Dean, you know, you want your driver fast, but you don't want him too fast. And a lot of those crews will, again, communicate with pit boards with their cars to let them know if they're going too fast or not. Winters, when he really stood on the gas, had the power to get around Winters, but not the staying power to stay in front of him. And that resulted in a spin there up in the 3rd and 4th turn. 131 laps complete here tonight at Louisville Motor Speedway. And it looks like we've got a shootout right now for 3rd place, Dean.
That's right. Chuck Winters has already worked his way back up to 4th place position now, and is going to work on the number 1 machine, Steve Webb. Steve is currently in 3rd place position, as Keith Gardner has gotten around him for 2nd. straightaway. Webb on the inside of the group as they head off into turns 3 and 4, side by side. Coming out of the chute down the front straightaway. Give the credit to Chuck Winters as he now takes over third.
Car number 1, Steve Webb now drop kicks back to 4th. At 5th, it'll be Scott Walters. 6th now to Ron Phillips. 7th to Rick Irwin. And by our reckoning, the number 8 position going to the 74 of Brian Baum. So that's as much as we can tell you right now, again, as those inside the top 10 cars there. I believe we have at least 8 cars still on the lead lap after 135 laps. And again, we begin closing in on that right way grinding solid tool halfway point challenge. And it's the number 05 of Larry Metters moving out of turn number 4, clicking off lap number 136 this time. Keith Gardner in car number 98 runs by his lonesome right now in 2nd place. And it's, again, about a full straightaway or more behind, actually over a full straightaway behind our race leader. Chuck Winters currently runs at 3rd primarily by himself. And then a great 2-car battle back at 4th and 5th between Steve Webb and Scott Walters as they race down the front straightaway. Ron Phillips right there as well. So those 3 cars have a dandy of a battle going into turns 1 and 2.
So 23 more laps, and we'll find out for sure if Larry Metters can pick up that right-way grinding solid tool halfway bonus. It's looking very good right now. It's going to open up a full straightaway lead almost half the track between him and his closest competitor, which at the moment is the number 98 of Keith Gardner. That may be changing very soon as the number 8 of Chuck Winters is narrowing that daylight between those 2 cars.
That's right. Chuck Winters looked to have one of the strongest cars there in the going up around the 100 lap mark. And again took away the lead from Larry Metters, but went into turns 3 and 4 a little too hard, suffering some minor damage to the machine as we see the left front and the right rear of the car broken up somewhat, but the car seems fast. And now he reels in the number 98 of Keith Gardner for 2nd place as they move down into turns 3 and 4. Dean Taylor is only about a car length separating 2nd and 3rd.
That's right, it's very close now as Chuck Winters nears the market. Unofficially, we clocked Larry Metters with a 15 lead on that last lap. So he's just a few tenths of a second off of that 15-second goal that he's had. But right now, he's doing very well for it as he has got a tremendous lead. As Chuck Winters now moves up very close to the inside of Keith Gardner, then has to pull it in behind him. They head off into turns 1 and 2. It's Gardner out in front, Winters right behind him. It's going to be a challenge coming up here very shortly, Frank Scott.
Directly behind him, we have another battle for position, and it's Scott Walters looking to the inside of Steve Webb as they come down the front straightaway. This is the battle for 4th and 5th as Walters now glides in low on Webb as they exit turn number 2. Side by side, nearly moving down into turns 3 and 4. Walters to the inside of Webb as they come out of turn number 4, but Webb is able to turn him back after 144 laps. And again, this great battle back at 4th and 5th place.
Budget and rent car, Rocky Sunpump, number 1, still holding on to the advantage over the number 5 Roadrunner Video Club machine of Scott Walker. Scott is desperately trying to take away that position, but it's not very easy as Steve is not relenting it. Our other battle is for 2nd place currently between the number 98 of Keith Gardner and the number 8 of Chuck Winters. Chuck is looking to the outside now of Keith Gardner as they go down the front straightaway. He might pull it up alongside heading into turns 1 and 2. Yes, he does. They get it together. They're headed down the front straightaway. Gardner with the advantage at the moment, but they've got a slower car in front of them. We'll have to see if that presents any problems for either one of our drivers.
That's Chad Paxson in car number 72. He finished 5th in last year's event, but right now as a player, and actually Winters using him as a pick to make a move around the outside of Keith Gardner to take 2nd place back away. So Chuck Winters now has recuperated, dropped back as far as 5th or 6th place, now moves back into the number 2 position after getting around Keith Gardner as they move down the back straightaway. The distance, though, between 1st and 2nd place is nearly a half a lap, Dean Taylor, and never have we seen a car dominate this event. As they move in on the halfway point from right way grinding solid tool, they'll pay a big bonus to Larry Metters, and car number 05 is 150 laps go up on the board.
Larry Metters has taken a lot of Dave Embry's money this year and continues to do so. On his last lap, we saw an 8.2-second difference between 1st and 2nd place. So that's quite a bit of space between the first and Larry Metters and the number 8 of Chuck Winters.
Rick Irwin in car number 90 inside the top 10. I believe he was at 7th place on the field, is now 1 lap down to our race leader, Larry Metters. Brian Baum in car number 74 going 8th is also a lap down. So that puts us with 6 cars on the lead lap, and the interval between first and second place is well over a half a lap advantage. Larry Metters has turned up the nuclear power in that number 05 out here this evening. But again, the big question is, can he go the distance, Dean?
Undoubtedly, we'll have to check it out and see what's happening. So let's go ahead and take this break. College Chevy GM's Fusion's feature race of the evening.
154 laps in the books here tonight at Louisville Motor Speedway. Your race leader, Larry Metters, has well over a half a lap advantage over the rest of the field. As Metters moves in, his next car on the lead lap to go a lap down if he can catch him would be Ron Phillips in car number 39, the 6th place running car. Charlie Glotzback in car number 20, who is not on the lead lap, is once again in danger of going yet another lap down as Larry Metters continues to gobble up this field here tonight at Louisville Motor Speedway in the Metal Center Bluegrass 300. 156 laps in the books here tonight. It's been Larry Metters for the most part, although drivers like Chuck Winders has been able to take the lead away at some point in the event. Winders again has fought his way from 6th place back up to 2nd. And again, that interval between first and second place isn't getting any shorter. It's Metters by a half a lap after 158 laps. Got a battle right now going on for 4th and 5th, moving into turns 1 and 2, and it's Scott Walters looking to the inside of the number 1 of Steve Webb. And again, this is the battle for 4th place. And this time Webb glides up the banking, but he gets an excellent bite out of turn number 4, and once again is able to turn Scott Walters back as they race back into turns 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway, and Webb puts a safety cushion between himself and Walters of about a car length and a half as they race out of the 4th turn and down the front straightaway. Trouble down in turns 1 and 2, and it's car number 74, Brian Baum. His Oldsmobile getting a little high down in the 1st and 2nd turn, spinning the car around. After 162 laps, Bill Kimmel Jr. does likewise in the number 69, blocking up some of the track.
All right, we're back with you now live here at Louisville Motor Speedway as we have got caution coming out the track. 2 cars have now spun up in turn number 2, Frank Scott.
It was Brian Baum in car number 74. His Oldsmobile got a little high going into the 1st and 2nd turn area, actually getting up into what they call the marbles, and that's actually some of the bits and pieces of the rubber and whatnot that come off the cars, and they find themselves up in the 2nd and 3rd groove of the track. Brian Baum went a little bit wide that time into the 1st and 2nd turn and got caught up into some of that debris. He spun the car around, and then a few moments later, Bill Kimmel Jr. did likewise. We find ourselves under caution after 164 laps of racing action, and I believe right now Scott Douglas is standing down in the pit area with a few comments. Scott?
Everybody got to stop at some point. Right now, look at the web crew, and they are all prepared for this stuff. The vendors crew is in here going to jump into the pit. They're going to go take a look.
Turn that volume down on the, now up on the machine. Yeah. Thank you.
Scott Walters comes down pit road. He's just across the lane from Winters. And Joe Williamson is in. So is Bill Kimmel Jr. in the pit. Now the pit open at this point. Winters is coming back out. Looks like a good stop. Scott Walters in a hurry. How's the first stop? Let's see who's coming in
Okay, in the pits, 1, 74, 72, 98.
Well, it looks like the banquet table buffet crew now signals for Rick Irwin to possibly come in. And the number 90 now, the Pontiac, comes down on the pit road. The number 1, the Webb Motorsports crew, has also called their car back in once again, Scott Douglas, and it could be something significant there.
Here we go with more action. Steve Webb is back in. They're going to go left side. They're going to get all new rubber for the Steve Webb machine and keep him on the lead lap if they can. Webb's coming around now, taking on the service. They get both wheels now replaced. Rick Irwin taking on fuel. And that looks like it'll be all for the banquet table buffet machine. But Steve Webb has decided to go for a 4-tire change. They changed 2 tires the first time around. The lug nuts are on. The jack is dropped. Steve Webb will come back out, and apparently with 4 new tires, he's still on the lead lap of this show.
Okay, so there you have it. Both Steve Webb and Rick Irwin making their stops. Webb made a second stop to take on inside tires, and we'll find out what that budget rent-a-car and truck racing Chevrolet Lumina can do with 4 new tires on it.
All right, so very interesting strategy here, as a lot of the drivers we've talked to over the past couple of weeks on our tires would not be a factor in the event, but apparently it has been a factor for the Steve Webb as they have taken on all 4 tires. So we'll have to see what's going to happen and find out how the scoring stands with 169 laps down. It still Metters out in front. Winders is being credited with 2nd. Gardner is in at 3rd with Steve Webb running 4th. And the number 5 with Scott Walters being listed as 5th on our leaderboard.
So that's the way they look after 169 laps. Coming up on lap number 170, action there on pit road, and it looks like the number 29 of Hank Hartledge took off with a dump can still attached to his car, but now he returns to racing action here on the front straightaway.
All right, so I was wondering if we would see that this year or not, as we had that happen a couple of times last season. I believe Scott Douglas is standing by with this report, so let's go down to pit road.
One of the stories, the work of the Webb team. Let's get Bill Webb over here real quick once again. Bill, you decided to pit twice to take on 4 tires. What's the strategy?
That's got the tires we started on. They had a lot of wear on them. They were our fastest set of tires out of the 2 sets we had. But they had a lot of wear on them. Those 2 tires down. We brought him in and changed the tires around, trying to loosen this car a little bit. It's like a 3-tire thing.
Too tight now. Again, you got the 4-tire change, so they make a difference. Obviously, you hope they get a better run. I thought it was interesting, though, that you went around and gave everybody a big pat on the back. You felt like your crew really did a good job.
Yeah, you know, we had a lot of time to talk about it. The main thing was we didn't run through the rock run or anything like that. You know, I don't know if the tires are going to help me or not. You know, we did lose some power while we were in there. So we want to stay out for that.
You didn't like the tires. I guess you had nothing to lose by the change, really.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We didn't know how good the tires were, how poor they were, so we just figured we'd go ahead and change them.
Bill Webb says they decided just to go to another set. That set isn't working out. Let's see if it works out for Steve Webb if he tries to march back toward the front. But again, Bill went around and patted everybody in the back. So, hey, we had time, but we did everything safely and got the change made.
So there you have it, and now Larry Metters in the number 05 is the last among the leaders to have to make a stop. There will be a mandatory pit stop still for the number 05 of Larry Metters, and the big question is when he will do it. We know these cars can go at least 200 laps before they need to take on their fuel, and it's up to the Malcolm Brothers racing team at this point as to when to bring in their driver and just exactly how much of that lead they'll give up when they do so, Dean Taylor.
All right, looks like when we get back to green flag action, Charlie Botsback starting on the outside of Larry Metters there. Not sure how for him to make a lap back.
Listen, nobody ever got the car, and I think this is something. I'm not going to go to victory lane. Can you introduce the bomber up there?
Going to be set up.
And nobody got the cars, and I don't know them all. You know them all.
Manning the strategy now.
Try to make sure Tom and them coordinate the little tractor guys that get them the hats and stuff.
The outside of the number 6.
And I'm going to victory lane with Dylan on them to get that settled.
172 laps away in this Bluegrass Metal Center 300. And don't forget, our race being brought to you tonight through the fine help of the folks at Collins Chevy Geo at 7th and Broadway in downtown Louisville.
This is when you were looking for a yellow flag or a chance to stop. What about Metters not pitting? Any thoughts what they're doing?
He's going to pit sometime more nights over.
What if there's a late caution? Will you pit again?
Good possibility.
Might do. All right, Royce Foley says the Winders team might be back, but as of right now, they're saying, hey, we took it right now, went ahead and got our pit stop out of the way. Metters hasn't.
As they come out of turn number 4, the green flag reappears at lap number 174 as they race back into turns 1 and 2. And it's Larry Metters in car number 05, your race leader. Car number 8, Chuck Winters, runs at second. Going third, it's the number 98 of Keith Gardner, the number 5 of Scott Walters in there as well at 5th place, and Steve Webb runs at 4th as they race back into turns 1 and 2. 176 on the board here tonight at Louisville Motor Speedway in the running of the Medal Center Bluegrass 300.
All right, looks like some changes are now being made to our leaderboard. We're going to drive Larry Metters to the left front, and now the number 39 of Bob Phillips is being listed as running in 2nd place, while the number 8 of Chuck Winters is 3rd, the number 5 of Scott Walters is running 4th, and Keith Gardner in car number 98 finds himself now 5th on the field.
And Chuck Winters now shoots to the outside of Ron Phillips. That's the battle at 2nd right now as they move back into turns 1 and 2. They're side by side for 2nd right now. Scott Walters goes up the banking in turn number 2, slowing down, and it looks like there might be a problem on the Roadrunner Video Club's Pontiac. Again, speculating as to what may be the problem. He'll take it behind pit wall. He obviously must have lost oil pressure, Dean. That's the only speculation at this point.
That was a big blow to his effort as he was running there in the top 5. That now puts Steve Webb back up in the 5th place position. And when you lose the big ball, you got to know that there's a major problem on that racing effort. So with 180 laps away, Larry Metters still out in front. He has got a wide margin at the moment with the number 8 of Chuck Winters, who is currently running 2nd. We'll call it about a 12-car length lead at the moment. Then you'll find Ron Phillips in the 3rd, Keith Gardner in the 4th, and the number 1 of Steve Webb rounding out your top 5.
Go.
Take this radio. I'm sorry. Did you have something to say?
No, go right ahead. Let's take this commercial break.
All right, we'll be back with more of the live continuous coverage from tonight's action to the Bluegrass Medal Center 300. I believe it's Commercial West 62 WTMP.
They continue to circle this Louisville Motor Speedway. 182 laps in the books here tonight, and car number 05, Larry Metters, continues to lead. The number 8 of Chuck Winters, half a straightaway back at 2nd place. Then it's the number 39 of Ron Phillips, followed by the number 98 of Keith Gardner and the number 1 of Steve Webb. So we know of those cars still being on the lead lap at this point in the event. We have at least 5 cars on the lead lap. 74, Brian Baum is down at least 1 lap, and again, he was involved in a small altercation down in the 1st and 2nd turn area. Rick Irwin just went down a lap by virtue of being the last car on the lead lap some time ago, but now he is at least 1 lap down, but has already made his stop. What will be interesting is that when Larry Metters does make his fuel stop, will he make it under caution or under green? If he's forced to make it under green flag racing conditions, he could lose a lot of time in the pits and see that lead go away. Right now we have 186 in the books as they continue to circle this Louisville Motor Speedway. You know, Dean, my question is Winters a lap down?
Is Winters a lap down?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, he is not.
Okay. Car number 98, Keith Gardner, our 4th place running car right now, and Steve Webb in car number 1 running at 4th and 5th place have a dandy of a battle going on right now down into turns 3 and 4 as they move bumper to bumper down the front straightaway. Best race on the track right now.
All right, Frank Scott, we are rejoining our radio broadcast as I was over checking with our officials on scoring and timing. We had a question that we need to check on. So right now, it's beginning to be Larry Metters on the front. Chuck Winters running 2nd. Keith Gardner and Steve Webb right here together.
Dean Taylor, we're 10 laps away from yet another Medal Center Recycling Center bonus to be paid at lap number 200. Right now we're watching, monitoring the battle for 4th and 5th place. Steve Webb to the inside of Keith Gardner. He tucks right back in line again and moves down into turns 1 and 2. But that's a dandy of a battle right now for 4th and 5th place.
2 are going at it quite hard as they get up into turns 3 and 4. Steve's car looks a little bit better. It looks like they're having problems coming out of the turn as they put all the 40 tires on. I'm sure they're not brand new, but ones that they probably race sometime during the season as with the new car coming out of the tires. Great tires. Once you get a warning in the season, that looks better. 193 laps away now in this event with Bluegrass Medal Center 300. Coming to you live here on 62 WTMP, sponsored by College Chevy Geo and 7 Broadway in downtown Louisville. And by the great Ted Stooges nightclubs.
now in car number 05, our race leader, moving around the outside of John Garrett's Ford Thunderbird here on the front straightaway, collecting lap number 195. And they are 5 laps away, I should say, from that 200 lap mark bonus put up by the Metal Center Recycling Center.
All right, so the continuing story is Larry Metters. It looks like he's about 4 laps away. It's like another big bonus check as it's coming up here very shortly. Two of the 3 bonuses that are up for grabs this evening. Working his way around the track with that machine that'll start to pop a little bit more as he attacks the nose. Slightly going to turn 2.
Steve Webb now has inherited the number 4 position now from Keith Gardner as they move down the back straightaway. So Steve Webb, our pole position winner, now has moved back into the number 4 position as they move down the front straightaway. Lap number 198 complete. Lap number 199 about to go up on the scoreboard, and Larry Metters is 1 lap closer to that bonus as he moves back into turns 1 and 2.
All right, Dave's heading down the back straightaway, just about a 3/4 of the lap, will be coming another $100 for sure. So as he makes his way around through turns 3 and 4, headed towards the start-finish line, and give it to him, write another check.
Okay, Larry Metters collecting the bonuses here tonight. But once again, Dean, I had said he did the same last year, collecting that bonuses, but then not being able to collect the checkered flag at the end of the race. And you know, again, fatigue and a lot of weariness will be setting in now over these final 100 circuits here, and we'll find out if we have enough race car for Larry Metters to come away with the victory. Also, Dean, you might notice the racing group, how much higher up through the turns the cars go as they move into the turns. They're not really down on the inside portion next to those speed bumps as we watch Larry Metters move down into turns 3 and 4. And again, see how high the car goes.
Yeah, he is. He's running a very high group coming out of turn 4 that time. And it looks like they're running here all evening, but it's a French station is a little bit higher. And in that case, once you get the car going, you got to get the running first here it wants to run. That's a sign of a good, true sportsman driver there. And he is doing a fantastic job holding that car on the pavement. As 204 miles away, it's got to be taking a toll on him.
I tell you what, Dean Taylor, you know what's kicking in right now? Those 4 new shoes on Steve Webb's car. They're beginning to show because he has now reeled in Ron Phillips for 3rd place. So those new tennis shoes that they put on, he took on 4 tires and has begun closing in now on Ron Phillips, who is on used tires. And I tell you what, that may be the difference here as the outcome of the race draws closer.
He has made up quite a bit of distance. He now has a margin of one margin between him and number 39 and Ron Phillips. 1 and 2. So we'll have to see. Watch this battle is but right now, it's still Larry Metters' ball game. He's way out in front. Chuck Winters running solo at the moment, too, right about 14 car lane back. 208 laps getting ready to come up in this big 300-lap event, Frank.
I tell you what, you know, watching Larry Metters, he is not able to pull away to that big half a lap advantage that he could earlier in the race around the halfway point of the event. His lead right now, as they come down the front straightaway, is just a little over 5 seconds, and he hasn't drawn any further away from Chuck Winters. By the same token now, it's those brand new tires that Steve Webb has on that are kicking in, and right now he has taken away 3rd place from Ron Phillips.
It took him about a lap and a half to do it, but he battled Ron Phillips there and finally got him level and took over that sole possession of 3rd place now. He's got a little bit of ways to go before he finds the 2nd place running number 8 of Chuck Winters, but it looks like those new shoes have definitely helped the Muncie running car run himself up number 1 of Steve Webb, also sponsored by
Belker Racing Engines. Hey, you know what, Dean Taylor? I wonder how much longer it'll be before Steve Webb can chase down Chuck Winters to give him a good battle for 2nd place. And again, it seems like those new tires are making a difference as hard as they are.
Well, officially, that last lap that Steve turned was a 14.94. We'll move the clock to him again this time around as he comes across the start-finish line. As he is definitely making a positive grip on this racing surface. They're 13 laps away in this event right now. Again, your top 5 consisting of Larry Metters, Chuck Winters, Steve Webb, Ron Phillips, and the 98
what, it's just about time to check in with Scott Douglas down in the pit area. And Scott, take it away.
Basically, talking in the pit with the Larry Metters crew. The only reason they didn't pit when everybody else did under caution was because that wasn't the plan. They planned to pit sometime after lap 200, and they're going to stick with that. But it's a calculated risk. Winder, Webb, all these guys have pitted. Gardner, Phillips. So if the race stays green, Larry Metters still must pit at some point. If he doesn't get a yellow, he's going to have a big problem because he'd have to pit under the green flag. A calculated risk. If there's another yellow, it'll work out for Metters. If not, it'll be a big problem. Also, the Steve Webb crew is absolutely ecstatic about the way the tires, the four tire changes work out. These guys are really pumped up down here. They say they've got a shot to win the race. They think the tires have a big factor to do with it.
Well, my thoughts exactly, Dean Taylor. And again, when Webb took on those four tires and not really losing that much time, he had to make 2 pit stops to get all 4 on. But I tell you what, it's really paid off for him. And as he, again, begins to close in on Chuck Winters, there's only an interval of about a full straightaway between 2nd and 3rd place. So those new tires may be the story. The other angle here is that Larry Metters in the number 05 has not been able to pull away from Chuck Winters. That interval between 1st and 2nd place has only been actually a little less than a full straightaway. So we could have a very tight 3-car race for the lead as this race winds down. We're 221 in the books here tonight.
Back in the last part of the field, we've had a toss-up for position as the number 90, and Keith Gardner is now taking the 4th place. The number 39, Ron Phillips. In fact, Ron seems to be dropping off the pace quite a bit. Even some of the slower lap cars now getting away from Ron. That was up close by him there a while ago when he was battling it out with Gardner. So Gardner pulling it on, Phillips dropping off, and Webb is coming out of nowhere as he is down to call it the straightaway lead. And the 2nd place running number 8 of Chuck Winters. By the same margin, you're going to find that distance between your front race leader, the 05 of Larry Metters, and Chuck Winters is straightaway leader. As number 6 goes for a little trip down to the infield right.
Yeah, that's John Garrett out of Southern Indiana, and car number 6, a 92 Ford Thunderbird. He had a problem there on the back straightaway, and again looks to be slowing here on the front stretch, and he could be headed back towards the pit area, as there is possibly a problem on that machine. And yes, indeed, he does pull down pit road.
Yeah, he gets it up there, but he doesn't pull it into the pit, so he stopped right there. So now no car can get into pit road even if they wanted to. At the moment, you see it sitting right there crossways between the entrance to the pit road area.
Oh, I tell you what now, this could, if his car cannot get started back up and down pit road, this could bring out a caution flag period. And if so, this will allow the number 1 of Steve Webb to close in even tighter on Chuck Winters. Looks like they've dispatched the push card, though, to John Garrett's machine, and so maybe we will avoid a caution flag period.
John Garrett's car is rolling ever so slightly, and it's Mike Angelini pulls up there in the front push car. He got it underway a little bit more, but still sitting off to the side there could be precarious if someone is coming in the replay. So there's 228 and 229 laps now down on the board. So your race leader in the outer limits, so now Valley Tire Metal Center number 5 of Larry Metters as he continues to dominate this race.
Running second, it's car number 8, the Gregg and Landreth cars, fully automotive and A1 engineering Buick Regal of Chuck Winters, who's come mighty close in the past Bluegrass 300s to coming away with a victory, but it has not ever been his day. Tonight, again in contention and running at 2nd place, Steve Webb in car number 1 now has fallen about a half a lap now behind our 2nd place running car of Winters. So again, it looked like Webb was going to be fast with those new tires, but he has not been able to gobble up the real estate as he was able to a little earlier on Chuck Winters. Keith Gardner in the number 98 currently runs at 4th, and then at 5th it's the number 39 of Ron Phillips. We're under caution, Dean Taylor.
Yes, there's a caution out on the track, but I don't know why. Looking around to see what reason we have at the game.
And it looks like John Garrett's machine in car number 6 finally did bring out that caution flag. That car stalled just to the entrance of pit road. And you know, it would be a situation if Metters had to make a pit stop, he might not have been able to get down pit road because of that stalled car there, Dean. So speculation at this point, the yellow flag's out to move that parked race car.
All right, so we'll have to see what happens. The pace car has picked the field up. Larry definitely doesn't want to get imposed a penalty like Charlie Glatzbach received earlier as he was running inside the top 5, and then that put him well back off the pace. So I believe Scott Douglas is standing by with the report. Let's go to him on pit road now.
Well, Frank, obviously you can see it for yourself. Walk over to Royce Foley, the crew chief on the Chuck Winters car, and I know you guys did not want to see that yellow, and obviously a critical point in the race, and they went ahead and threw it. Very critical point in the race. Yellow. I feel like the car was out of harm's way over there. They could have put better in this situation. Took a little lazy way, and now Metters will have the option. Here he comes in. We'll go to the pit stop right now. Metters is coming in. They're looking on the right-hand side. Doesn't look like they're going to make any kind of a tire change. Just fuel for Larry Metters. He's taken on the necessary 5 to 6 gallons, I would say. They got it out of there, going to plug up the fuel cell. Indeed, Larry Metters is in and out very quickly, and your race leader will come right back out. Now, we'll see if anybody else on the lead lap hits. I doubt they will, so Metters will drop to the end of the lead lap. But obviously, Larry has been very strong. He still has 65 laps to make it up. What bothers Royce Foley, the Webb crew, and everybody else on the lead lap was that if they wouldn't have had that yellow flag at that time, certainly Metters might have had to been under green. That would have made it a different ball game. Now, all the leaders have made their business, and it's going to be a story of who can be the fastest over these last 65 laps on the racetrack to win this 300 laps.
Okay, car number 39, Ron Phillips, has made his mandatory pit stop. He still finds himself at 5th place on the tail of the lead lap, lining up right behind Larry Metters. Perhaps Dean Taylor, they'll hook up in a tight 2-car draft and try to head back towards the front. But right now we've got another race leader, and it's the number 8 of Chuck Winters, who had held that position momentarily before getting into a half spin, dropping several positions back and then fighting back to the front.
All right, we'll have to see how scoring and timing readjust things, but right now Chuck Winters is definitely your leader at the moment, and we're going to go back to Scott Douglas down on pit road right now.
Let's go into the Larry Metters pit now. Rick Ray, you guys, first of all, a little bit of a gamble, but you waited all along until after like 200 still. You had to be relieved when they yelled at you.
Yeah, very much so.
How about Larry now? He's at the tail of the lead lap, and certainly you guys seem to have a lot of confidence that he'll get back up there.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
All right, seems to be running perfect. What Larry have to say, you think?
It's a little bit tight. We're loosening it up a little bit. I hope it'll be all right the rest of the way.
Yeah, just a little bit looser. They try to loosen it up a little for Larry Metters. They think he's going to be ready to go and make his charge to the front after gambling on the pit stop, but getting away with it. He gets the caution. He is pitted. Everybody's ready to go.
Well, what can I say? 1992 has been a Larry Metters kind of year. He's gotten the breaks. Things have gone his way. He has a well-prepared race car, and of course, he really needed that yellow flag. It happens for him. He's able to make the mandatory pit stop. He finds himself right now in the number 4 position on the lead lap and ready to chase down the number 8 of Chuck Winters, the number 1 of Steve Webb, and the number 98 of Keith Gardner to try to take the lead back away. Don't count out Ron Phillips in car number 39, his best performance ever in this Bluegrass 300, as those top 5 cars remain on the lead lap. We're still under caution after 238 laps here tonight at Louisville Motor Speedway.
All right, we'll be back with more of our live coverage of the Bluegrass. 241 is now being shown on the board. That's Chuck Winters out in front with Steve Webb running second. Keith Gardner is down in third. Larry Metters now finds himself in 4th position, and Ron Phillips in 5th. Comes out on action, and we're back.
And the field races off into turns 1 and 2, and it's Chuck Winters, your new race leader. Steve Webb in car number 1 now runs at second. Keith Gardner goes third, and they're bumper to bumper out of turn number 4. 243 laps completed as they race back into turns 1 and 2. The number 05 of Larry Metters at 4th place, and then rounding out that top 5, the number 39 of Ron Phillips. Those cars reported on the lead lap. Rick Irwin in car number 90 now is at least 2 laps now down to the field as they race back into turns 1 and 2. The 29 of Hank Hartlich goes at 7th place right now, 2 laps down, and Charlie Glotzbach is at 8th, 2 laps down. So again, by our accounts from LMS Scoring and Timing, that's the way the top 8 cars look right now. As they race out of the second turn and down the back straightaway, it's we're going to keep our eyes right now on Larry Metters in the number 05 as he goes to the high side of Keith Gardner out of turn 4.
Now the front's good. Larry Metters on the outside looking for a little bit of racing room. He's not going going to find it this time in the turn 1 and 2 is going to have to settle up for that position as Charlie Glatzback swipes over the bank just a little bit. Metters now pulls it up a little bit more closer as they head on the turn 1. Side by side. Here's the credit though to Arthur as he still maintains the number 3. Pulling his car now out in front of the Gardner machine.
Okay, and Larry Metters in car number 05 will try to take that momentum with him out of turn number 4. He turns the corner on Gardner and he nails down third place as they race back into turns 1 and 2. So with Chuck Winders out front, the number 1 of Steve Webb running at second, Larry Metters goes third, Keith Gardner at fourth, and rounding out that top 5, Ron Phillips. But Phillips has a lot of, several lap cars between himself and Keith Gardner as he races back into turns 1 and 2. He's got Brian Baum, Hank Hartledge, and Rick Irwin, as well as Charlie Glatzback between himself and Keith Gardner for that 4th place running order. The big question now is, can the 39 of Ron Phillips get past them to get a shot at Gardner?
On the way on the Glatzback car as he launches up the race. Once again, he now finds himself in 6th place position. They've all got about the same amount of distance between them as they head off into turns 3 and 4, coming up now to the right.
All righty, 252 in the books, and again with those brand new tires on the car, Steve Webb at best can maintain 2nd place right now. He has not been able to reel in Chuck Winders. Larry Metters now in the number 05 goes up a little bit higher in the banks down in turns 3 and 4, and he's trying to gain some momentum using the high side to make a run at Webb. Boy, Brian Baum got out of shape that time down in 3 and 4, but he maintains control of his car and rejoins this lineup.
Almost like he was dirt tracking it out of the corner that time, but he did do a very good job holding on to the head. All right, see number 11, Joe Williamson Sr. now going into the pit road area. Said he might have a problem on his car. 254 laps to win this event. Scott Douglas will right over there and see what they're doing. We'll have to report from him very shortly.
Okay, and it looks like Scott Douglas is watching the stop on the tumbleweed car.
Joe Williams' tumbleweed special in there, looking under the hood right now. Joe acting like something's wrong. He tries to steer the car. They've gone to the front and they're looking. Joe Williams Jr. is actually crew chief in the car. And right now he's just looking under the hood. Joe's asking if there's anything hung up. He can't find anything. He can't steer the car.
Okay, battle for second now out of turn number 4 as Larry Metters looks to the inside of Steve Webb as they flash across the start-finish line. Dean Taylor, it looked like he was really going to make a run at Webb, but they came up on the slower car of Jeff Johnson. Again, Metters now taking a peek to the high side of Webb as they exit turn number 4, but we've got an incredible battle right now for 2nd place.
Indeed we have as they head off into turns 1 and 2. Here's Webb and Metters right there together as they head down the back straightaway. Webb is holding down that inside group. Metters not enough racing room on the outside to get around just at the moment. So he's going to have to replace it with that position for the moment. We'll have to see how things will change as they head off into turns 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway.
Well, a scary moment there for our race leader, Chuck Winders. He was trying to pass Chad Paxton on the inside. I don't know if Chad saw him or not, but he came down and nearly collided with him coming out of turn number 2 about a lap ago. Okay, Metters zips to the inside of Webb. That's the battle for 2nd place. Larry has to be careful not to tear the car up because he's got to chase down Chuck Winders.
That's right. This is only a small hurdle before the big jump has to be made. He does it, though. He gets around the number 1 of Steve Webb, now takes over 2nd place position, and he's got a couple of lap cars in front of him as he has to get around those machines before he can go back and work on
Dean, we've got the setting right now for a showdown. We're coming up now with 48 laps left to go. Larry Metters is reeling in Chuck Winders, and it'll be a real showdown for the lead over the final circuits of this event for the most prestigious race of the 1992 racing season. Once again, we're setting ourselves up for a 2-car showdown, and it's less than a full straightaway between 1st and 2nd.
And we'll have to watch that margin and see how Larry Metters is going to do as they come up as turn 65. We've got 36 laps left to move ahead. And BLUEGRASS Double 300. Larry has collected all of the bonus money so far, but it ain't so easy here to remind you and then hit that problem there on the last few laps. But we'll have to see if Lady Luck is on his side as it has been so far this season. Right now, Chuck Winders still out in front. He's back number the number 39 of Ron Phillips as they get off into turns 3 and 4. Metters is closing up the margin him just a little bit, but still, there's about, we'll call it 14 to 20.
Steve Webb really got himself up between two lap cars, the 99 of Larry Clyer and Chad Paxton. That slowed his momentum down, trying to get around those two cars at the same time, and has allowed Keith Gardner to reel him in. So we've got a battle for third place shaping up here as they move back into turns 1 and 2. Into turns 1 and 2 now, and down the back straightaway, Steve Webb maintains third place, but Keith Gardner and Charlie Glotzback are racing bumper to bumper right behind him there and appear to be closing in on him as they come down the front straightaway.
All right, Larry Metters continues to work away on that lead. He's chipping away at it ever so slightly. He's narrowed the margin down to about 10 car lengths as they come across for lap number 269. He's going through some of the slower back cars as he gets around the number 88 machine there. So has some clear open racing room to try and do work on that number 8 machine of Chuck Winters.
I tell you what, Ron Phillips, car number 39 at 5th place, is now 1 lap down to the field. So we have 4 cars on the lead lap, but the makings for a 2-car showdown for the lead over the final 30 circuits here, as 270 laps are now completed, and it's the number 8, the Gregg and Landreth cars, Foley Automotive, A1 Engineering Racing Buick Regal from Pleasure Ridge Park, Kentucky, Chuck Winters, who continues to lead this event, but Larry Metters is closing in within 10 car lengths.
Joe Williamson has gotten his machine back out on the track. I see Scott Douglas is over talking to that crew right now. We'll have a report from him here in just a moment to find out what's up in that racing team. Chuck Winters down the back straightaway, 272, soon to be 273, and Glotzback is spun up in turn 1 and 2. That brings out the yellow flag, Frank Scott.
I tell you what, this could be significant now because this will allow Larry Metters to close in on the number 8 of Chuck Winters. And really, again, with that 10-car length interval, it would have been interesting to see over the final 30 circuits if Larry Metters could have chased down Chuck Winters without the benefit of this yellow flag. But because of the yellow flag coming out, it'll be Larry Metters closing in on Chuck Winters for a 2-car showdown for the lead, and perhaps maybe even a 4-car showdown. Steve Webb and the number 1 is right there, as well as the number 98 of Keith Gardner. But we're under caution at lap number 274. Let's pick up Scott Douglas down on pit road and see what his comments are.
Well, it was easy enough to read the reactions to that yellow flag. They're applauding in the Metters pit while the gang with the Winters pit just kind of kicks the ground. They did not want to see that caution after building up that lead. Well, Scott Toohey's working in the Chuck Winters pit. That's the last thing you wanted to see because you guys felt like under green flag you got the man with the lead. Now Metters is up on his deck.
Well, if we felt like we had the race going our way, all the green flags stayed up, and Larry and Chuck are running time real close together, so we just have to wait and see to the end.
Now you can tell out front, obviously you're not going to do anything to that lead up.
No, we're not coming in.
Last few laps you've been checking, you had actually Chuck maybe a few hundreds of quicker, even quicker than that.
Yeah, just a little bit. Chuck in the 08, 16, Larry in the 20.
You're a race car driver. It just means the best guy's going to win it on the track. Got Dewey down there from the Winters pit. That's indeed the case. The situation for Larry Metters is he gets to move right on up there. But again, Chuck Winters has had times about the same as Metters over the last several laps. As the discussion goes on down here on the racetrack involving Bill Kimmel Jr., Frank will send it back up to you.
Okay, obviously it's a scoring situation where the LMS track officials are holding the number 69 of Bill Kimmel Jr. here on the front straightaway to put him in his correct order in the lineup. And it looks like we have a crew member has walked over to give his opinion as well. 276 laps completed, and right now, again, we're under caution because of the number 20 of Charlie Glotzback's machine making that wayward trip through the infield up in the first and second turn area. The turnaround point in this event is it has allowed Larry Metters to close in on Chuck Winters for what will ultimately be a 4-car shootout over these final circuits to determine the winner of the 1992 Metal Center Bluegrass 300. 74, Brian Baum has scored his 9th place on the field, and the number 7 of Buddy Fannin is currently at 10th. So that's the way the top 10 look right now. The field gets double fouled down in turns 3 and 4. We're set to see the conclusion of this exciting conclusion of the Metal Center Bluegrass 300. And I'll tell you what, Chuck Winders really got the jump on that restart as they race down into turns 1 and 2. And now there's problems on the number 05 of Larry Metter's machine, and it looks like he can't bring the car up to power very fast, and he has fallen back near the tail of the field. So the 05 is definitely having a problem now. 281 laps in the race right now, and the number 8 of Chuck Winders is your race leader. The number 1 of Steve Webb now runs at second. Going third, it's the number 98 of Keith Gardner, followed by the number 05 of Larry Metters, who continues to cruise around this track at a very slow pace. And Dean Taylor, I tell you what, it happens in the waning laps of this race.
As the number 05, Larry Metters is literally crawling around this track right now. His car is definitely something wrong with it as he continues to limp around the track. Chuck Winders has jumped down to about a quarter of a straightaway lead over the number 1 of Steve Webb. Behind Gardner now in third. The number 5 machine, I believe, is listed as fourth. That would be Scott Walters, but that's unofficial at the moment as we'll have to look at the sports time to see just who it is. 05 is Larry Metters. He's on the scoreboard at 4th place because he had a lap up on the 39 of Ron Phillips, no matter how much he slows down. Phillips, once he comes around the 05 of Larry Metters, Phillips will go to 4th place, Metters will fall to 5th. As they race back into turns 1 and 2, 286 on the board. It could be Chuck Winders from Pleasure Ridge Park, Kentucky here tonight, about to win a race that has eluded him the past the past 3 occurrences here at the Speedway. It certainly looks like he's sitting in the catbird seat here, Dean. All right, here goes Ron Phillips around the outside of Larry Metters right now, so that'll drop Larry back into 5th place position, and I'm sure he'll continue to drop on back to there as his car is just not doing what it's supposed to be doing at all.
It certainly doesn't, and I can't imagine what may have happened to the machine, but the number 05 of Larry Metters is really going around the track only about half the speed of the other cars. Popping onto the leaderboard, the number 90 of Rick Irwin, the Banquet Table Buffet Pontiac now. He is 2 laps down to the field, but in 5th place in a good run in his 2nd ever Bluegrass 300.
So that's your top 5 for you right now. Chuck Winders still out in front with Steve Webb running 2nd. Keith Gardner holding down 3rd. Number 39 is Ron Phillips. He is in at 4th, and the number 90 of Rick Irwin rounds out your top 5. That's how the top 5 stands here with 290 down and just 10 laps to go, Frank.
We'll make that 9 laps to go as the firefighter for the city of Louisville, former Kentucky Bourbon softball player, leads this field down the back straightaway and down into turns 3 and 4, looking for his 2nd major event to victory here at Louisville Motor Speedway, as he was able to come away with the Shoney's Derby City 100 victory in 1991 here at Louisville Motor Speedway. If he can hold on now for 8 more laps, he'll win his 2nd most major event victory here at Louisville Motor Speedway. I should say his most major event, because certainly the 300 carries a lot of prestige along with it.
Undoubtedly, a lot of power in that punch. All right, Chuck Winders right now, he's turns 3 and 4. He's going to put a lap on the 05 cars that come out the front straightaway. 294 laps now down. Away. Chuck Winders going to pick up the big one possibly. Only time will tell, but right now he looks very good as he's got a full straightaway lead over the number 1 of Steve Webb, who is currently running 2nd.
Oh, what a moment for his wife, of course, Jan, and his son Joey and Wendy, daughter, looking on here tonight as Chuck Winders, 4-time most popular driver, a 2-time track champion here at Louisville Motor Speedway, looks to win the big one here tonight at Louisville Motor Speedway. Lap number 296 clicks off. We're 4 away from a finish as they move down the front straightaway and into turns 1 and 2.
Very close now. In fact, we'll be coming up on the point where we'll have to run under green flags in the event that any cautions come out, of course, the last lap. Chuck Winders walking away with his moment as he is now a full straightaway lead ahead of the number 1 of Steve Webb. And Ron Phillips is right on the back bumper of Steve Webb there, but we find on the leaderboard that Keith Gardner is listed as 3rd with Ron Phillips 4th, and Rick Irwin still holding on to 5th place position.
Hats off to the Webb Motorsports team out of Jeffersonville, Indiana. They brought a car that won this event 1 year ago. They put it on the pole position. Steve Webb, and about 1 more lap will come up, maybe just up 1 position short of doing what his brother did last year, and that's winning this Bluegrass 300. Moving down into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Out of the fourth turn, Pleasure Ridge Park, Kentucky's Chuck Winders wins the Medal Center Bluegrass 300 here at Louisville Motor Speedway. Across the line at second, it was Steve Webb of Jeffersonville, Indiana. The number 98 of Keith Gardner hits the line at third, followed by Ron Phillips. What a great run Ron Phillips had here this evening. And, of course, Rick Irwin in car number 90 finishes up at fifth. Rolling down the front straightaway, the event that has eluded him the past few times he's been competing in it, but he comes away with the biggest race of his career here at Louisville Motor Speedway. Charging Chuck Winders. Let's take it downstairs to Scotty Douglas.